Hello bookworms, I'm Becca, and this is going to be a spoiler-free review of Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. In John Green's newest release, we follow 16-year-old Aza, who we find out is struggling with obsessive thoughts that take up a majority of her day-to-day life and really have a major effect on her relationships with her best friend Daisy and also her mom. The event that really sets the stage for the rest of the book is that a billionaire has gone missing, and there is a really big monetary reward for any information regarding his whereabouts. As it so happens, Aza actually used to be friends with his son Davis, so Daisy convinces Aza to pay Davis a visit, and after the two reconnect, the story kind of goes on from there. I will admit that the plot is probably one of the strangest circumstances that I have ever read about, but I will say that the majority of the book does not focus so much on the missing person, but rather on Aza's internal invasive thoughts, or thought spirals as she refers to them. Turtles All the Way Down was one of the most difficult books I've read in quite a while, and it was a definite change to John Green's previous style of writing. I have to say that it was a refreshing new look at a story with a character dealing with mental illness, where in the past, most of the books I've read that have a main character dealing with mental illness, it ends up being a typical girl has anxiety or some type of mental illness, meets a boy, and is magically cured. But John Green made it very clear in Turtles that Aza's mental state was not something that she would just be able to get over because of a boy. Since Turtles was such a highly anticipated release, I decided to take to Goodreads to see what other people had to think about it. And Goodreads user Randy has Turtles rated as 1 star, with his reasoning being that the plot was too thin and the characters weren't as realistic as he'd hoped that they would be. And I would have to agree with Randy when it comes to the characters. I did feel that with the exception of Aza, the rest of the characters did not feel as polished, which was a little disappointing. One of my other issues with this book is that it took me a while to really settle into the voice of the narrator. For probably the first quarter of the book, for me, it was reading very much in John Green's voice, like John was writing this character instead of the character telling the story. And I don't know if this could be blamed on the fact that I watch a lot of John's videos, so I am very familiar with his manner of speaking. The only other issue I had is kind of a strange one, and it is that the book was so specifically set in Indiana and in Indianapolis. I've only come across this issue in one other book, and it completely threw me off guard. And the same thing happened in Turtles, where because of the very specific setting, it was specific even down to street names, which was kind of strange and took me out of it since I'm not familiar with the Indianapolis area. So I think that in doing that, John Green actually limited the scope of people that would be able to relate to the story, which is very interesting because he gets a lot of flack for having very generalized characters in his other books, and then in turn wrote this one that was very specific, not only with the mental illness but with the setting and everything. So I think that if you aren't going through some of the other issues that Aza has, like if you don't struggle with anxiety or other mental illnesses, this book might be a miss for you. But going back to the setting being oddly specific, there were also a lot of really great references. I loved the pop culture references to Star Wars and other references to stores and stuff like that. But then when it came to the music that Aza was listening to, the band names were often not mentioned, and the song titles were vague enough that I couldn't tell what kind of music it actually was. So it ended up being this really strange juxtaposition of very specific references, and then other times extremely vague references. So it did pull me out of the story a little bit and left me confused. On the other hand, Goodreads user Jenny gave Turtles All the Way Down 5 out of 5 stars and ended her review thanking John Green for writing a book that brought mental illness to such a broad audience. Turtles All the Way Down is unlike any other mental illness book that I've read, and like I've said, as difficult as it was for me to read, the message at the end overall was a very hopeful one, which was really cool. This is a highly important topic to read about, and I'm glad that John Green decided to tackle this issue in the way that he did, and I hope that more people give this book a chance instead of just deciding not to read it because it's a John Green book. I just don't think that that's very fair. But that's a topic for another video. I ended up giving Turtles All the Way Down 4 out of 5 stars, and if you want to see more of my in-depth thoughts on the story, be sure to let me know down below in the comments and give this video a like. I'll leave off with one of my favorite quotes of all time that I was surprised and very happy ended up making it into the book as well. So in the words of Robert Frost, in 3 words, I can sum up everything I've learned about life. It goes on. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.